If you like finding out about incredible people doing life-changing things, I have a book you might like. It's the biography of a Nepalese man, Som Tamang, who has made his way from his home village in the Himalayas via child slavery, earthquakes and pandemics, and now finds himself living in Cairns, rebuilding his home village, fighting against people traffickers and being a real force for change. The name of the book is Himalayan Dreams, how a child slave moved mountains to save a generation in Nepal. And his story is told by Kirsty Nancarrow, an award-winning former ABC journalist. Kirsty has joined me in the studio, and Som is joining us from a studio in Cairns. Hello, Som.
Hello, how are you? Hi, everyone in Adelaide.
And Darwin.
Yeah, and Darwin.
And Broken Hill.
Broken Hill.
Do you know Broken Hill?
No, I haven't, but I'm very curious.
Okay, well, it's just inside New South Wales, but they use the South Australian time zone because they like us better than Sydney.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Kirsty has nodded her head at that because that is journalistically correct. Is that right, Kirsty? That Broken Hill
would like Adelaide more than Sydney.
Yes.
I imagine so. Yeah. I was very nearly brought up in Broken Hill. My father, for a time, was a geologist, and he told Mum that's where we should make a life, and she refused. So I actually grew up in Sydney, but I think I would have probably preferred to grow up in Broken Hill.
All right, Broken Hill. There you go. Kirsty is the one that got away for you.
Fantastic. Hopefully, I'll get to explore once in my lifetime.
Yeah. Now, Som, you have an amazing story. You've been telling it to Kirsty, and then Kirsty's written a book about it. Who do you think tells the story better, you or Kirsty?
I think Kirsty definitely have told my story in the best way.
Okay.
I can't describe the way that she have wrote, so it's definitely Kirsty.
All right, because I'm in a weird situation where I have the author of a book and the subject of a book, and I need to find out what this story is. But I don't know who to ask, so I'm going to let you both do it. Kirsty, why don't you start, and then Som can correct all the details.
How long have you got? No, he's only 40 years old, but this man has had the biggest life already, and it's a biography, but this is really just the start of Som's story. But what he's been able to achieve in his lifetime to date is absolutely incredible. I met him a couple of days after the earthquake in 2015 on Anzac Day. You might remember. It was the biggest catastrophe to hit Nepal for many, many years. And there was hardly any living memory of such an earthquake. It was very destructive. 9,000 people died in the two earthquakes that happened soon after each other, and they were very destructive for Som's village. He happened to be living in Cairns, running his fair trade shop, and I reached out to him as a Nepalese citizen in Cairns who was affected by the disaster. He went back to help, and it was sort of following his story, going back and forth to provide assistance, that I started to get a little bit to know Som as a person, but also about the work that he was doing in Nepal. So he runs an organisation called Friends of Himalayan Children, which basically allows kids in his village to get an education, to go to school, to have a safe place to stay, to pay for the school fees, etc., because it's a fairly poor place, Batassi village, where Som is from. And I had the pleasure of actually going there and volunteering about 18 months after the disaster, and I could see for myself the impact that he was making through education.
Som, any corrections there? Or was that all correct?
All correct, and along with many things lost and many people lost around me, I also lost one of my brother, and I nearly lost children from the hostel which we rescued for her education, and we nearly lost her because she was inside the rubble, but the other children and the staff, they managed to save, and she's now just over 16 and becoming a really great female leader, young leader.
Yeah, wonderful. So if Kirsty's association with you only started in 2015, it sounds like there's a lot of the story was before that. So can you tell us a little bit about what happened before you met Kirsty, when you were still in Nepal?
Like Kirsty mentioned, I was voluntarily running a charity, Friends of Himalayan Children, a non-profit organization, and mainly we focus on the girls, to rescue girls to be at school, come from diverse different background, and mostly vulnerable and at-risk young girls, which come from my area in Nepal, in Batasi village and Sindhu-Palchak region. But at the same time, the organization is, of course, focused to rescue young girls, but also we educate young boys to how to treat the girls in equal manners as well. So that's what's been happening since I came to Australia in 2003.
A large part of your drive seems to come from like the want to be educated. Would that be correct?
Yes.
How did you know that education was the answer for you? That education was your way out from your situation that you weren't happy with?
I knew that since a childhood, education was important because back in the day, the only sign-up job in Nepal was join the army force or join the police force. And to be able to join the police or army, you needed completion of a grade 5 or higher. And in the village, in my older sister's time and my mom and dad time, there was nobody who completed any form of education. So for me, completing higher than grade 5 was a big thing, and getting into grade 8 and grade 9 was a dream. So that's what led me out of the village, because there was no school. Like book will explain the background on all the school and why I left, but that's the one other reason.
Kirsty, you have been, you were in charge of getting Som's story out of him. Was it like a struggle to get it out of him, or was it like trying to put a cork back into a wine barrel?
No, definitely the former. Really, one of the challenges, I had to draw on all of my journalistic skills, really, to bring this story together. And this is the first time I've done something like this. I'm used to instant gratification, news stories, the 24-hour cycle. The next day you've got a new set of things to report on. But this is a very long project. And I knew that there were going to be nuggets of gold in there somewhere. But Som is a very humble person, and he's not very forthcoming about the events of his own life, many of which have been incredibly dramatic. He neglected to say then that when he left the village in pursuit of his education, he actually got trapped in a slavery situation where he was working for a family for a couple of years in Kathmandu and wasn't able to go to school. And he kind of abandoned his education once he was able to free himself from that situation to focus on his younger siblings and make sure that the same thing didn't happen to them. So, in order to pull this book together, I think I did dozens of interviews, not just with Som, but with other people in his life, from his mother to girls who he has helped, other young leaders in Batasi, people involved in the school, people involved with his organisation, Friends of Himalayan Children, volunteers who've spent time in the village, and even a couple of quite famous Australian actors who have been influenced by and have influenced the course of Som's life. And it was an incredibly interesting journey. And it was only by talking to all of these people that I could start to piece things together, and then I'd take them back to Som for verification, and he'd be like, oh yes, that happened. And I'm like, you didn't think that was worth mentioning to me? So we got there in the end, but it was a very a long process of stitching everything together and collaborating and presenting that to Som, and then building a story to weave a life story out of it.
Som, have you had a chance to apologise to Kirsty for being such a nightmare?
Yes, absolutely. In front of so many audience at the book launch in Cairns. Absolutely, yes.
Does Kirsty bring this up all the time?
This was only last Saturday.
Yeah, not right now since the book is out, because we are really happy with everything. But, during the process, I remember that's when I realized now, I could have done better. But at the same time, like Kirsty mentioned, I am always on the front line of something, either in Cairns or in Batassi village, trying to make a change in others' life and live my own life as well. Mm-hmm. So, it's always, like Kirsty said perfectly, life is always very interesting, very challenging, always something on the plate.
And if I can say, in Som's defence, I mean, I've had to learn about this, and actually, it's been educational for me in a cultural sense. Som comes from a place where life is about survival, right? It's a place where there's subsistence farming, where death is an accepted part of life. You don't take for granted that you'll have medical treatment or any kind of interventions or enough money coming in. It's very much you make your life yourself, which makes it so incredible that Som is where he is today. So I guess I was putting my Western lens on things and going, okay, well, this is the third time we've put off this appointment. But Som is used to living, and the reason he's been so successful and has been able to survive and overcome everything that he has is because he is dealing with the thing that's in front of him at the moment. So, and for the past few years, obviously with the pandemic, he was able to, he had to actually go and work a job that basically took him 60 hours a week because he was trying to support people in Nepal that were his employees that couldn't work in his trekking business during the pandemic. So he's a busy man.
Yeah. So it looks like there is kind of two sides to your story. One is, like hardship and trauma and difficulty and these amazingly awful things that you have encountered in your life. And then the other side is your positivity and determination and not letting any of that stuff get to you. Where does your positivity and your outlook come from? Is it something that your village has, or is it something that you've had to learn somewhere else?
It's definitely I have been inherited from my grandfather. As Kirsty mentioned, death and living is very, very simple. In such a violent situation, my grandfather always stayed calm and always said, we cannot go as low as others, and always our job is to help who needs the help, ignore the bad. So that's kind of there, and I just took along that advice and stayed focused and continue. And I know that I learned wrong and right in a very young age. And as long as it's not affecting others, but only benefiting others for good work and good outcome, just keep your heads up and continue and move forward. Stay positive.
Yeah, you're listening to Som Tamang. He is a Nepalese man, now lives in Cairns, and his life story is now the subject of a book, Himalayan Dreams, How a Child Slave Moved Mountains to Save a Generation in Nepal. We're also joined by the writer of that book, former award-winning ABC journalist, Kirsty Nancarrow. You're also in Cairns as well, right?
I am, yes.
I would love to talk about Cairns' role in all this. So, Som, you do a lot of fundraising in Cairns, and so you actually have started to rely a lot on the community of Cairns. Is that right?
Yes. Before COVID and before earthquake in Nepal, all the time the charities registered in Queensland, in Cairns, and all committee members, myself, we all volunteer. Anything I do for the Friends of Himalayan Children and the school in Batassi or the hostel in Batassi, this is all 100% volunteer at my end. and all our committee in here, and my family in Batassi as well. None of us get paid or draw any kind of income from the charity. That's something we are different to any other organization in Australia or in Nepal. Also saying all of that in locally has been majority, but supporters have grown all around the world. So people as far as Canada, America, all over the globe, New Zealand, Australia, of course, have bits of contribution towards my village and the hostel that we run for the children. At the moment, we have about just over 40 young children, mostly girls.
That's great. Kirsty, how have you seen Cairns embrace SOM?
Well, I think just the book launch that we had a couple of weeks ago as a fundraiser was a fairly telling experience. You know, I'm not sure what Adelaide is like. I know that Alice Springs used to be a bit last minute with going, you know, registering for events.
Yes. People
would sort of leave it to the day to go, I might go to that tonight. And that's usually what it's like in Cairns. This event, we decided to hold it at a community-run, volunteer-run club, the German club in Cairns. I mean, what's not to love about the launch of a Nepalese man's biography in the German club
in Cairns?
They said, all right, well, we can take 150 people. It sold out 2 weeks before the event. We had to knock back about 50 people. We had them on the waiting list, continually messaging us saying, "Can we please come? I'm so sorry. You know, something's broken with the system. The tickets are sold out," which is great because we had 4 events. So we just said we'll come to one of the other events that are on. So that sort of shows how much support SOM has in the community, and he's right. There's such a connection between the two communities in terms of volunteers having been going over there, including myself. You know, it was a life-changing experience for me, and I know it has been for many other volunteers. The financial contribution, there's lots of people who are sponsoring children over there. Myself, we've sponsored 3 girls in the village. So there is a real close connection between those two communities, but there is for Adelaide as well. I mean, SOM was down here having a very successful event with a film screening about the trekking guides that he's developed, women trekking guides he's developed, which is quite pioneering in itself, in September. So there's a bit of an Adelaide connection there as well.
Lovely. Now, sorry, did you want to add something to that song?
Yeah, I was just adding into Cairns. Cairns been positive. Cairns have always been positive. It's 20 years I have lived in Cairns now. I lived in Cairns longer than in Nepal.
Right.
Yes. So that's the proven fact. And every time, every couple of years, I always think of moving away from Cairns, and I think about the people around me, people supporting my cause and what I do in Cairns. And I could never live. I can't imagine leaving Cairns at all because it's so homely. It's just so positive. Same time, Adelaide is one of my favorite places with so many wonderful people who been to Batassi and also who is a regular supporter of the Friends of Himalayan Children.
Nice. So do you see a time where this job will be done, or do you think it's something you're going to be working on your whole life? Will you ever get a chance to look at another village's problem and try to help them? What do you think your future is?
Look, during the earthquake, we have helped so many other villages. We had so much fun from all over the place, everyone, many people. And after earthquake, for several years, we sponsored and distributed school resources and distributed teachers to many different schools because it was just terrible situation after the earthquake. And even now, we not only focus in one school, we helping at least 4 or 5 other schools in the area close by my village, because in Batassi village, because we have it up to high school, it's a feeding school. So we are helping already few other communities close by. And at the same time, when I started, I said, I just wanted to educate 5 or 6 girls that I knew, and I will stop. But that didn't happen. And I said, once grade 8 is complete, I would stop. That didn't happen. Then now grade 10 is complete, I thought I would stop. And now we are progressing with a community request. We want to go the school up to grade 12. And we recently got involved International Rotary Club for the special project to build extra classroom and accommodation for the Batasi school. So it's been non-stop. Every time I think of stopping, I let the next leaders to take over in Batasi, in Nepal, and also let myself go and have a time with the family and myself. It's always maybe not this year. So I'm not sure when I would be able to let go, but I am definitely looking forward for the day where I can feel myself comfortable and pass it on to other leaders and other people who have the same passion.
Yeah. So the book is called, where is it? Himalayan Dreams, How a Child Slave Moved Mountains to Save a Generation in Nepal. The author, Kirsty Nancarrow, is in Adelaide, and you've got a book reading and signing happening. Where's that?
Yes, it's just a little gathering if anyone would like to join at the Aldinga Hotel in Old Coach Road, Saturday at 12:30 p.m. I'll just be there doing a little bit of a talk about the book. I've got copies, so you can grab a signed copy if you like. It's a limited edition colour copies, and be very, very happy to meet anyone that wants to come along. And if you can just register through my website that you want to attend, so I know the numbers, it's www.kirstynancarrow.com. But would love to see a few people there. Know it's a bit of a trek down from the city, but I've got family down there as well. So I thought, why not make it a little road trip for people that want to come and learn all about this incredible story.
Yeah, it's a lovely way to spend an afternoon. So that's 12:30 at the Aldinga Hotel on Saturday. How come you don't get to come on this junket?
Look, I always want to come to Adelaide, and I know that I will come to Adelaide, and I will be approaching you, Jason. And look, family commitment, as much as I want to do things and be part of this book journey. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it this time, but I am looking forward for Adelaide. If not early, it would be next Book Writers Festival Adelaide. That's something Kirsty and I were talking to along with a friend Matt in Adelaide. So I am very, very excited and looking forward to what future's got to bring for me and everyone.
All right, well, that's almost a year away now because we've just had our Writers' Week. So I look forward to catching up with you guys in a year and seeing how it's all gone.
Okay, you never know. It might be before a year.
It might be before too. Well, maybe it'll be twice in a year. That'll be nice. I'm sure people would love to know more about you and how they can get involved in your causes, many causes. So what's the best way, where can people go to find out more about you?
Look, it's very, very easy. Either Google Som Tamang from Cairns or Take on Nepal. And Take on Nepal is one of the dream of mine and another Himalayan dream. Easy to find. And I am accessible. Any contact through Take on Nepal, either phone number, email, anything, it comes directly to me. Excellent. And also Friends of Himalayan Children, if they want to get involved in saving the children and supporting for their education, or sponsor children for their education, or sponsor a school to hire a teacher to be able to keep the children at the school, it's Friends of Himalayan Children.
Excellent. So Friends of Himalayan Children, Take on Nepal, and Som Tamang, SOMTAMANG.
That's right.
Great. And Kirsty, if people wanted to find out more about the stuff you do, where do they go for that?
Well, first, just wanted to add that people can now make tax-deductible donations. Up until now, they haven't been able to support SOM's work through Friends of Himalayan Children and get a tax deduction. But through this Rotary program, the Rotary Australia World Community Service program, which has just launched, people can now make tax-deductible donations, which are very much aimed at getting that school finished, year 11 and 12, which is a dream of SOM's and also my goal with writing his story. So if you just search for RAWCS, RAWCS, and Friends of Himalayan Children, RAWCS Friends of Himalayan Children, that'll take you to the page where you can make a tax-deductible donation. But you can find me on all of the things, Facebook, LinkedIn. I've got Kirsty Nancarrow, author and trainer on Facebook and Instagram. And I also run a company called Emotion Video Training and Production, which is how I'm able to be in Adelaide this weekend.
Yay, everything's tax-deductible now. Thanks so much for your time and sharing your story, Som. It's wonderful. I've been smiling the whole time.
Thank you so much for making the time.
And thank you very much, Kirsty, for coming here and enjoy the book tour and signing on Saturday.
Thanks, Jason.
One more time, that book is called Himalayan Dreams, How a Child Slave Moved Mountains to Save a Generation in Nepal by Kirsty Nancarrow, all about the life thus far of Som Tamang. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.